Surfing the QWF, Part 2. Why surf? In the first video, I suggested that we are all higher dimensional consciousness, experiencing this reality by viewing shared threads of the mathematics of the quantum wave function, the QWF. Because I can't resist puns, I call this surfing the QWF. Much like a first-person video game in a virtual reality, but one entirely constructed and consistent with the laws of physics. This video is devoted to why we higher dimensional consciousness would want to experience such lower four-dimensional, in other words, three space dimensions plus time, virtual lives. I will capitalize pronouns when referring to our higher dimensional consciousness. The previous discussion was about an interpretation of quantum mechanics that I believe both resolves the major paradoxes and offers a potential basis for understanding religious and spiritual experience. That discussion was based on normal conjecture about unresolved mysteries of quantum mechanics. This discussion is not. The ideas in this video are based upon 10 years of communication that one of my daughters had with higher dimensional consciousness during and after an extended near-death experience. As context, my academic background is in physics and math. My professional experience is in engineering, analytics, and business strategy. From the age of 12 to the age of 50, I was a rabid skeptic. At this point in this presentation, I would have already hopped off the crazy train. A flat Earth would have sounded more reasonable to me. So, if you aren't even waiting for the train to come to a complete halt before heading for the exit, I get it. Been there, done that, got the snickering t-shirt. A series of events over a number of years made me eventually lose my religion of atheism and material realism. The final event was my daughter's near-death experience. If you are still on the train, I'll jump right in. Why would some higher dimensional consciousness, oh, that would be us, by the way, want to play a first-person video-like game in a virtual four-dimensional reality? The reason we are doing this is because of two fundamental aspects of our higher dimensional consciousness. The first is that we are highly interconnected in higher D. There does not appear to be any fully singular consciousness possible. In the initial stage of my daughter's NDE, she found herself in what she later called the love bath, bathed in love while interconnected to innumerable souls. She later painted her impression of this experience. She described the souls as beautiful and fully intertwined, but lacking individuality, energy, and initiative. She described the bath as like warm water. The love was overwhelming, and she never wanted to leave or even move. Had not some more individualized and energetic souls come get her, she would never have wanted to leave. The second key characteristic of our higher dimensional consciousness is that we can see at least portions of the higher dimensional equivalent of the quantum wave function. The QWF defines the probabilities of all possible outcomes. I don't know what it means to see the QWF. I don't know if it's some inherent capability or some higher D technological equivalent. These are the two relevant aspects of our higher D reality that explain why we are here surfing the QWF. To experience one, individual consciousness. Two, QWF blindness. Individual consciousness with QWF blindness. In these 4D avatars, we can't see the probabilities of the QWF. And we are alone in our experience. No group decision-making to bind us. The QWF defines the probabilities of all the potential outcomes of a subatomic system as it evolves. I also use the term QWF for the conceptual higher-level mathematics that would describe the probabilities of all possible outcomes in any 4D universe. This was called the universal wave function by Hugh Everett, the inventor of what later became known as the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. Seeing the QWF, or maybe calculating or maybe feeling it, means knowing the probabilities of all the paths before you. Our high interconnectivity ensures that all decisions about group actions are group decisions. Taken together, these mean that we will never take paths with high likelihood of failure. Imagine we are 6 hikers, tied together by a rope, walking down a safe, winding, gently descending mountain path. We can see clearly all possible paths. Now imagine that one Yahoo says, "Hey, let's jump off this cliff, because I can kind of see a fluffy bush way down there." We can clearly see the low probability of this crazy plan. There is no way we as a group are taking that leap. Visibility into future possibilities plus group decision-making leaves no chance for wild, low probability paths to be explored. What if we could untie that Yahoo and reattach him with a very long rope? He could try that bush jump without pulling us over with him. If he splattered, as expected, we could pull him back up and heal him later. I think this is one analogy of what we are doing down here surfing. Some of us Yahoos will leap, aiming at those fluffy bushes. Most will splat on the canyon floor. But one might find a way down that would cut 95% off of our descent time. Most step function improvements in mankind's progression come from highly improbable paths being followed. For example, Einstein was a patent clerk when he shook the world with 4 momentous papers in 1905. Jesus was a carpenter, and Buddha was a wealthy aristocrat. Explorers follow improbable paths. Individual consciousness with QWF blindness enables improbable paths to be explored. But experiencing this virtual reality in this virtual material universe also brings another valuable experience to us that's unavailable in our higher D home. The left hemisphere of my brain cannot fall in love with the right hemisphere. The love bath was like warm water, no heat. The deep longing and connection between separate animal consciousness creates intense energy and focus through parental, romantic, sexual, familial, and self-love. That is unavailable in our collective reality. These intense connections between us as individuals power our drive to travel our unique, improbable paths. We know this through our personal experience and wider anecdotal experience. Rarely do we or others energetically excel when we are socially and emotionally isolated. We are most inspired when we are connected to our parents, friends, siblings, our children, and lovers. My daughter's guys, as she called the higher dimensional consciousness that communicated with her, said there were three parts to our agenda, or our reason why we are here. One, individual consciousness and quiff blindness create the possibility of traveling improbable paths. Two, love between such individual consciousness can power such travel. And three, individual intention or purpose is required to realize such travel. How to love can be learned through the experiences of being loved and loving. Intention can be learned and strengthened through practice, struggle, and success. We surf to learn how to better travel improbable paths back in our higher dimensional reality. This cosmology is consistent with most religious and spiritual perspectives. It just offers a different mechanism for the core beliefs. A higher power created the universe. We return to this higher power after death. Loving one another is of prime importance, and our intentions through prayer, meditation, and effort can manifest change. Because we are surfing the QWF, all of our experienced reality is consistent with the physics of the QWF. But we are here to learn to surf the improbable breaks. Quantum mechanics only defines probabilities, not certainties. There exists much room in the potential events within our QWF for high degrees of strangeness. The great majority of our lives, we work on realizing the somewhat improbable. Love, parenthood, work success, dealing with the animal nature of these avatars. But miracles, blessings, manifestations, and synchronicities all exist in the low probability fringes of our potential reality, and we can all seek as we surf. The wonder of this reality we have chosen to surf is before us every day, if we can look beyond the cold water, the rough surf, and the inevitable wipeouts. If you are still on the train, you can get the whole story at www.thephysicsofheaven.com.